Hi everyone, thanks for joining today. I am actually doing a melt and pour soap tutorial with the Stephenson Melt and Pour soap base. And I'm going to start off by using about 2 ounces of the clear base and melting it down. And then for the red coloring on the stripes of the popcorn, I am going to use this ruby red mica that I got from Nurture Soap. Since I'm only measuring out 2 ounces at a time, I'm just using these little scoopers that I also got from Nurture to measure the same amount so I have the same consistency. I've also measured out all my fragrance oil ahead of time, and I just kind of do a little bit from the dropper each time I add any of the soap to the mold. And this mold I'm using for the entire soap, so I'm just going to go ahead and start making the pieces. And we want to make sure that we spritz the mold every time with rubbing alcohol really good and spritz the pieces as they dry. So I did this about 4 times to start off with, and in between each session I went ahead and started working on the popcorn kernels as well while these set up. I would say that each time I poured about 2 ounces into the soap mold, it probably took about 10 minutes to let it dry. It was still a little bit bendable, which is fine to pop it out of the mold. Just make sure that you don't ruin it too much. Then for the next part, I started doing the actual popcorn kernels. So the next part, like I said, I did do the little popcorn kernels while I was waiting for the other part of the soap to set up. And I was also measuring out about 2 ounces each time. I did only one batch with the clear melt and pour, and the rest I did with a shea butter base. This little soap mold that I got from Nurture Soap as well, and it is the small ball soap mold, and it holds approximately 2 ounces, and it takes a little practice to pour it in there without it overflowing, but it's really easy to clean up, and then you can just remelt the excess soap again and pour it the next time you do a batch of soap. One thing I do want to mention though, as I was pouring the melt and pour base into that little ball mold, it did take a lot longer for that to harden up. I think it's just because it's a thick silicone mold and there's a lot of little cavities. So I probably was waiting about 30 minutes in between each one. I kind of would walk away and then come back after some time and then pop them out. If I didn't wait long enough though, the balls would kind of get little dents in them from me popping them out. So you want to make sure you're giving enough time. Once I had 4 pieces, I went ahead and put them in my mold, and then just took a knife and I scored one of them so I would know where I need to cut it off so it wasn't coming out of the mold too high. And then I took the excess that I cut off and I remelted that down again, and I made one more slice of the red for this design. Once I had all the design elements ready to go, the rest was just pouring the soap. So I melted down about 2 ounces of the shea butter base, and I just waited till that actually started to cool down quite a bit in the soap mold. And the reason why I only did 2 ounces is because I wanted to use something to kind of get it started, sort of like a glue to get the pieces going, so that way I wouldn't have to prop them all up the entire time. And you'll sort of see what I mean here in a second. So once that base was cooled down and the pieces were in there, I kind of waited a few minutes, and then I started melting down more melt and pour soap, and then I would spritz all of the soap in between with rubbing alcohol, and then just kind of pour the soap base as evenly as I could in between the pieces so nothing would kind of fall over and everything would be very stable. So I just did a little bit at a time because I didn't want to also melt the red pieces in the process of the soap. I wanted to make sure nothing was too hot, so you kind of want to keep an eye on that as well. Now this was the really fun part of the soap making process, and by really fun I mean sort of messy. So it doesn't matter if your white and red top is a little messy, it actually kind of enhances the design. And then I melted down more yellow clear base, and I kind of just drizzled it over the top, and my thought was this would be kind of like butter, and it makes also the perfect glue for sticking the little popcorn kernels that we designed, and kind of just making sure everything sticks together. And surprisingly, when you put all these in rubbing alcohol and spritz them down really good, they become super slimy and kind of hard to place. So it was kind of a challenge of getting them to stay in there, and you know, having enough time to get everything put together before the melt and pour started cooling down. I actually waited till the next day to pop this out of the mold, and I know some people struggle with getting the soap out of this mold. As long as you break the seals on all the sides, and really you can kind of see it where like the soap is stuck, and then if you pull really hard, you can kind of tell that the seal has been broken. So you just kind of work your way around the mold, and then once the sides are released, then you can kind of push on the bottom a little bit to also release that. And there was a lot of cleaning up that I had to do at the end of this batch, just because all that butter design that's holding all the kernels together kind of made a mess. But that's okay, we can go ahead and cut into it and see the final results. Thank you everyone for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you like melt and pour videos, and go ahead and leave a comment if there's something else you want me to try.